everyone, today we're going to be embossing and stamping on transparencies. They're just going to be basic transparencies that you can buy at Walmart, at Staples, actually we have them at Just for Keeps. You can find them anywhere. The ones that I'm going to be using today are actually hammer mill transparencies. They have one glossy side and one rougher side. I'm going to be using the rough side. You're also going to need some sort of embossing ink. I actually use Versamark. You're also going to need an embossing powder. I think when you emboss on the transparency, I think your glittery embossing powders look better. Today I'm going to be using embossing tinsel in gold. You can get that at any craft store. It's made by Ranger. You'll need something to catch your embossing powder in. I'm just going to be using a little paper bowl here. You'll need some sort of a stamp. Today I'm going to actually be using a Fancy Pants stamp that is star and swirls. That's what I used to actually make this. This is what I'm going to be making today. I'm just going to show you how to stamp and emboss this edge right here. Let's get started. Okay, one of the cool things about using transparencies is that they're transparent. So you can stick your photo or whatever it is you're wanting to put your transparency on top of, and you can actually position your transparency exactly where you're going to want that stamped image to go. So if I'm going to do it in this little left-hand corner, I'm going to move my transparency over and center it kind of right there. I'm going to take my stamp. I'm going to ink it with my embossing ink. I'm just going to position it where I want to go, and it's okay if you go off of the transparency a little bit. I'm just going to stamp it, give it a little push there. And your transparency is probably going to stick to your stamp, so all you do is flip it over and just slowly peel it off. I'm going to get that picture out of the way because that glitter embossing powder tends to stick to pictures, not permanently, it just makes a mess. So then you're going to take your embossing powder, and what you're going to do is you're going to pour it over that stamped image. What's going to happen is that embossing powder is going to stick to your embossing ink. So it's really important that you use embossing ink or some sort of tacky ink. You can lightly tap it to get the excess off. Unlike paper, it kind of sticks. When you tap too much when you're embossing on paper, it tends to tap it off the inked areas. Okay, so now once you have that all covered, all you do is get out your heat tool and heat it up. Now, before I start this, I'm going to tell you that when you're heating up any sort of glitter, you usually know when it's heated and you need to move on to a different area of the image when it gets kind of glittery and shimmery. Because right now it's shimmery, but it's kind of dull. But once I start heating it up, you'll see that it starts to get shimmery. Also, when you start heating, the air from the gun will usually blast off some of that excess glitter around the edges of the image, so you don't have to worry about having a messy image. Also, when you're heating your transparency up, it has a tendency to kind of curl. That's just going to happen. You can put it in between the pages of a heavy book and let it sit there for a while. That'll sometimes flatten it out, but you can also kind of flatten it out when you adhere it to your photo, your page, card, whatever you're using. And it's all heated that quickly. And you can see that shimmery, how it's real shimmery and perfectly see-through. You can add it to any project. You can add it to a picture. It makes anything just so pretty, and it adds some glitter to any of your projects. I'm going to bring back the completed one. This is the other one that I did, and I just used the same stamp on this side. I just kind of turned it and just made it go off the edge. So that's all there is to embossing and stamping on transparencies. It's pretty simple, but there's a ton of ways that you can use it, and I hope you have fun with it. I can't wait to see what you come up with.